Sorry. Yeah. So just for the month of July, my goal is to, work with 3 clients diligently and to go towards many homes in my area as possible and put out information about them.
Okay, so just so when we state our goals, we want to be really clear on a number. So just so we're clear on the number, you want to have 3 listings taken, like 3 people agree to work with you exclusively, whether being buyer or seller. Did I hear that right?
3 buyers or sellers, just 3 clients.
Okay, so
I'm
3.
not very comfortable. I really want to get comfortable with seller presentations. I think that makes me nervous with taking listings.
Okay, so I'm going to restate your goals for you. You tell me if I'm crazy or not. The month of July, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, your goal is to absolutely master the listing presentation.
Yes,
Right?
I definitely
I'm
want to
going
do
to
that.
say it a trillion times if that's what it takes. But come
Yes.
August 1st, you are prepared to go meet with any seller at any time. Immediately, you're prepared, you know what to say, it's all choreographed, right? The way I like to say it is, you know how if you ever watch a show with closed captioning and it says, what's that noise in the background? Is that you? Okay. You know when you watch a show with closed captioning and it has, you know, leaves moving in the trees, you know, telephone rings in the background, like that kind of stuff. Like the listing presentation should be choreographed to that degree, right? You should know when you bring up certain topics, what you talk about next after you talked about that first topic, right? Where you know, do you do it in the kitchen, in the family room? When do you tour the home? When do you close? How do you close? When do you ask questions? Everything should be choreographed. So my challenge to you is July for you is nailing that listing presentation. And en route to that, we're going to get 3 people, buyers or sellers, to agree to work with you exclusively. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to encourage you to come to our 8 a.m. Take the Hill session every Tuesday between now and then. So myself and the handful of other agents that are like Greta and Marquis and others that come each week can help you make certain that that goal happens, okay?
Okay.
Everything that we have, everything that pops into our mind, guys, that is a skill that we know we need to master, yet we're just not there yet for whatever reason, we should say to ourselves, what am I planning on doing about this, right? So if I say, hey, listing presentations for sellers make me nervous, I've got anxiety around it, or I don't know what to say or how to say it, then the next thing you should say is, okay, so that this goes back to what Greta and I were just talking about, right? Remember, that's an idea that the worker would say, the worker bee, if you will. But don't forget, guys, that we are also the CEO of our organization. So Lakira says, hey, I'm nervous about the listing presentation. That's what a listing agent would say. The listing agent's boss, if you will, the owner of the real estate company, which happens to be Lakira, should say, okay, worker bee Lakira, here's the listing presentation. Watch this video, study this, write it out, right? Go find a partner to practice with it. So you not only get to be the worker bee, but you better be the worker bee's leader, if that makes sense. So it's your job also, Lakira, to say, okay, I got a challenge here. Now, what am I going to do to solve this challenge? Because too many days have already gone by where you said, I'm nervous about listing presentations. I'm not going to go talk to sellers. We're done with that. Fair?
Absolutely.
Enough of that crap. It's time to solve that problem and move on. So now it's all about how are we going to solve the problem, right? Hell,
Right.
you're a real estate agent. You can't be nervous about listing presentations. That's like being a runner and worried about running.
Right.
Thank you so much, Michael. I try to do well with jokes. I don't know if anyone ever pays attention, but I can always count on you to laugh at me. I appreciate that. Look here, you don't know me so well, but I think I'm going to be a comedian when this real estate thing's over.
Or not.
Or not? Ah, shit. Man. All right. Well,
That's good.
she came back at me and she's telling it like it is. So you're right up my alley. All right, man, that kind of ruins my day. All right. Let's talk about
I'm sorry,
business.
you can do anything, Bill. You can do anything if you practice.
All right, you guys, let's talk about business plans today. That's the topic of today's session. Okay. So when you think of a business, I think a lot of times we kind of get in the weeds with this idea of business planning being like this formal thing, and like sometimes we resist it a little bit. When you think of business plans, how do you look at that and say, oh my gosh, it's a step-by-step method of how I'm going to get to where I want to be? Or do you look at that and say, God, that's a little too structured for me? What's your initial thought around it? Anyone?
I think it sounds like a great idea. Like it sounds like something that you need to be successful.
Cool. I agree.
It sounds simple until you know you need to do every little detail to make it happen. So you have to go about it strategically and realistically.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Anyone else want to add anything to it? Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you guys real fast and show you just a couple of different options for this. Okay, so I just want you to I want you to understand something is, you know, when they have this cute line at Keller Williams that says, okay, we're going to use a system called the GPS, Goals Priority Systems, for the business plan. And the idea is, you know, if you got a 25-page business plan, good luck. It's probably not going to happen. So Gary likes to put his business plan on one sheet of paper. And the line that he always says is, he says, now we know we're on the same page, right? Because if it's more than one page, then you can't be on the same page. Okay. So the strategies that I have encouraged you guys to use for your business plan, primarily because you're a relatively new agent, is as follows. Okay. It is this, which is your goal, right? Let's say your goal is, I'm going to do 12 units. Okay. And then your priorities are your lead generation strategy number 1, lead generation strategy number 2, and number 3. So that would be something like, I'm going to talk to, I'm going to do open houses, and this is, I'm going to do social media, and and then this is, I'm going to do door knocking or something like that, right? And then each of these strategies, open house, you go into detail and you say, what are the 5 strategies that I need to execute on in order for open houses to generate enough appointments for me to have that number of closings? Okay, so we went into details and we said things like, okay, we need to build a pre-open house strategy, a day of open house strategy, and a follow-up open house strategy. So that would be something like, I'm going to, I'm going to post it on Facebook on Tuesday, and then I'm going to post it on the Georgia Legacy group on Wednesday, and then I'm going to call the neighborhood on Wednesday, then I'm going to door knock the neighborhood on Thursday, then I'm going to put my signs out on Friday, then I'm going to buy balloons on Sunday, right? You know exactly what you do every day in preparation for that event, and then you know exactly what you do at the event. So that would be things like, you know, how many balloons do I buy? Where do I put them? How many sign directionals do I have? Where's the sanitation station? Where's the sign-in station, right? Where is the, what's my scripts and systems that I use when I'm inside the home? Like, do I try to walk them through the home? Do I introduce myself and point out a thing or two in the you know, downstairs area, and then let them kind of roam around the house on their own, right? So how does the day of system work? And let me tell you something, the more you think about it and the more decisions you make around how to make it as strategic as possible, the better results you're going to have. Okay, if you just don't do any intentional thinking around it, you're going to have mediocre results, and then you're going to say, open houses don't work for me. Okay, so what I've suggested is picking 3 lead generation styles or types that you enjoy doing, right? And execute on the plan. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I don't want to do any cold calling, I say, okay, so based on what you do want to do, how's it going? Right? Are you currently getting enough appointments using whatever you feel like doing to hit your goals? And if the answer is yes, I say, great, I wouldn't want to cold call either. But if the answer is no, I'm not currently getting enough appointments to hit my goals, then I'm going to push you and say, it may not need to be cold calling, but you may want to try something new or different, or push harder on that, or set up better systems for that. You see what I'm saying? So as a business owner, you should constantly be evaluating your plan and your daily actions to make sure that you're efficient as possible, that you're spending money appropriately, et cetera. Okay. So here's a couple of different ways of, in addition to the 3 types of lead generation, here's a couple of other ways to organize kind of the plan. I know we haven't talked about this a whole lot, but I want to show you 1 or 2 of these. This is probably mine. As you're growing, I'd say this is probably one of the next ones to consider. Appointments, right? How am I going to get my appointments? Okay, so that is basically it. Appointments and database growth are very similar to one another. Some of the ideas can go in one of the 2 places. One way to say this is, what lead generation styles am I going to use to secure appointments? Okay, so that could be some of this stuff right here, right? That could be DTD2, that could be calling your sphere, that could be client events, that could be contest, reverse bold 100, these kind of things. Database growth, okay, primarily there you're dealing with strangers. So what ways can you go meet strangers? So maybe that's contacting people in local businesses. Maybe that's getting involved in charity groups that you're not, you don't know any people there. Maybe that is, beginning to go to networking functions. Maybe that is, my goal is to meet 2 strangers every day, right? You just have a strategy around how are you going to grow your database. And then the next thing I said here is personal development. So how are you intentionally becoming smarter every day? When you really think about it, this one right here is what I've been preaching for 1.5 years, which is every single day, you better meet people. That's this. And you better learn. That's that. Right? So every day, if you're not becoming a smarter, more well-connected real estate agent, I got to ask you, what are you doing? Right? What are we looking to accomplish? Right? Your goal is to find people in the community that need guidance. And again, left to their own devices, they will select a mediocre agent. Right? And because you guys want them to have a 10+ 5-star experience, you need to be aggressive at getting to those people before they get in the hands of a lousy agent. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you were to use a system like this, you would say, where am I going to find all these appointments? So then you're naturally going to go to these lead generation tactics. Okay, and then personal development could be something like, I take Bold twice a year. I enroll in a groups map coaching class. I go to family reunion. I read a book a week or a book a month, right? I listen to this podcast, right? I study my scripts. I, go to church. Whatever makes you feel like a more whole person, okay? But unless you get strategic and intentional around it, it's most likely not going to happen. Is that fair? Okay, cool. As your business grows, you might start to move into a few other types of kind of organizations for this. Another one is leads, listings, leverage. Sound familiar? Right? So these are the 3 priorities again. The goal still is selling 12 units, let's say, or maybe in this case, 25 units. Okay, so we're going to break our business down into leads, listings, and leverage. Where do the leads come from? Again, it goes right back to the lead generation sources, right? Listings. Do I have all the systems in place for listings, right? And leverage. now I got a bunch of stuff to do. Who's helping me with all these things? Okay, that I kind of want to mention one idea here. And you guys see this okay? I'm going to show you a concept that we used to talk about a lot in leadership, or I suspect they still do. Okay. Can you guys see that that's a triangle?
No, it's hard to see.
Very faint.
Yeah, hang on. Can you see
That's
that?
better.
Better.
Okay, so in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, we have three things, right? Leads, listings, leverage. If you have not read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you better start it before the end of the day. Okay, it's that important. It's that important. Okay, I was taught at one point, and I firmly believe this to be true, that yeah, this is probably my best bet for markers. I can tell you exactly what your problem is in real estate simply by knowing what you make. Okay, if you're 0 to 2 million in volume, there's really nothing we need to talk about other than leads. Don't talk to me about assistants. You got a lead problem. You just need to go find more people to speak to. You gotta go find more people to speak to. That's the end of the discussion. If you're 2 to 5 million in volume, you have a listings issue. That's it. We need to talk about systems and your lead gen and your presentations and your conversions, and you got to quit taking buyers around, or quit taking as many buyers around. Because if you've hit this $2 million mark right there, it shows that you know how to sell homes. Okay. You have serviced more people than fell into your lap when you told the world you're a real estate agent, right? Yet you have a listings issue because all your time is spent running around with buyers, and oftentimes non-qualified buyers. Okay. If you had more listings, you'd have more time. Okay. And then once you're over 5 million, the only thing you care about is leverage. Okay. This, as you've heard me say, is, there's two problems in real estate that real estate agents have. One is I don't have enough leads, and one is I have too many leads. These two are I don't have enough leads. This is I have too many leads. What too many leads means is I have too many leads to work at the level that they deserve to be worked at the highest level of customer service alone. Doesn't mean we should be sending people away. It just simply means that we should be bringing on somebody or multiple people to help. Does that make sense? Okay, so here's a couple of other organizational structures. So one that I started, I kind of rebuilt my teams GPS recently, and I used a bit of a different structure. I said sphere, strangers, and online. It's actually kind of similar to this one. But what I said is, what is my plan to interact with the people that I already know? And what tactics am I going to use for that, or what strategies? Then the next one is, what is my plan to meet with people or to work with people that I do not know? Where am I going to find them? What am I going to say to them? How am I going to communicate with them? Right? And then online. Clearly, running a business in today's age, we need to have an online presence, and I wanted to have some strategies around that. Okay, so one thing I want to help you understand is I'm going to show you one other breakdown real fast. Any questions so far? Okay, let's just take this one right here. Okay, sphere of influence is the priority. And here are some 5 potential strategies. Add all contacts to command with smart plans by. Practice scripts 15 minutes a day, starting on a certain date. Events, select the event and have a deadline. 36 touch plan, have it in place by a certain day, and 10 handwritten notes per week. So an example of that would be, I got 10 blank note cards that every Monday morning I place on the corner of my desk. By Friday afternoon, they got to be gone. So my job this week is to find 10 people to write these notes to, get them off my desk. Okay. Now, when you're coming up with strategies, there's two critical things you have to have in mind. The strategies are going to go in one of two directions. Either it's going to be something that happens over and over again. An example of that would be 10 handwritten notes per week. If that's the case, then it has to have a metric tied to it. You have to be able to know, did I do it or did I not do it? I know we don't necessarily like tracking, but that's how you're going to get it done, right? That's the only way you're going to be able to figure out, hey, did I do the task or did I not do the task? And if I completed it, then I can go do whatever else I feel like doing. And if I don't know whether I've completed it, then I'm not going to be, you might choose to do whatever you feel like doing, but you're going to feel weird the whole time because you're going to feel guilty that you're not working because you actually don't know whether you finished it or not, right? So if it is a repeatable thing, if it's something that's got to be done every day or every week or every quarter or whatever, it needs to have a number. It needs to have a metric tied to it. The other things that you might find strategy-wise are projects. Projects are just things that just got to get done. You just got to do them once. So for example, you might have a project like add all contacts to command with smart plans by November 15th. It's got a deadline. Make sense? So if it's a project, it's got to have a deadline. So Lakira and I, or Lakira was kind enough to voice her goal for July. And Lakira is going to be a listing presentation genius by July 31st. Is that right? Are you in the room?
Yeah, that's right, Bill. That's right.
Okay, she's going to be a listing presentation genius. She's going to be teaching the class. Okay. Now, because it's a goal that, I mean, over time, she'll continue to practice, and that eventually will be the, I practice my listing presentation for 20 minutes every day, and it would be every day 20 minutes, right? So those are the numbers involved. But until we get there, it's a project. So what is the only way that we're going to get a project done is by having two specific things. One is got to have a deadline. I will get this done by July 31st. It is critical for my business. It is something that is standing in the way of my success, and I'm no longer going to allow it to happen. Okay, so number one, it's got to have a deadline. Secondly, the only way it's going to happen is if it shows up in your calendar somewhere, right? And you respect your calendar. So we won't get into the details of Lakira's calendar right this second, but I'll just tell you that if you don't have a time block or multiple time blocks in your calendar between now and the end of this month, it ain't going to happen. Okay, so you should look at your day and say, hey, this is a critical part of my business. This is literally, like I was saying to Michael, like, this is like what we do. This is our primary thing. It's like a basketball player not being willing to like practice their shot. Like that's what they do. That's their job. Our job is to go present to people, right? Our job is to book appointments and hold appointments. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that we put a slot or multiple slots in our calendar to make sure that it happens, because all of this is worthless if we don't actually take action on it, right? The only way we're going to take action on it is if we know when it's going to happen. So I would look at your calendar and say, hey, what makes the most sense? Do I think I'll be more effective of this in the morning, in the evening, on the weekends, right? You know, in the middle of the day? Do I do it during my lunch break, right? When should this get done? And it might be a little trial and error, right? You might say, hey, let's try the morning, and then the morning is a disaster. Let's try the night. Night's a disaster. Okay, let's try lunch break. Let's try Sunday. And you got to experiment a little bit with it, but you know you got a deadline. It's like when you're in college and the papers due or whatever, right? We get it done, no matter if we do it at the last minute or we do it little by little along the way. It's got to get done. What do you guys hear when I've done most of the talking today? What are you guys hearing?
That we have to strategize. Planning is important.
That's right. That's right. You are, when you're the worker only, you just work. But you guys are the CEO too. And so you got to strategize. You got to leave the worker slot and you got to look over your team and say, how's my worker bee doing today? Do they have all the tools and resources and tech and support and coaching and et cetera that they need in order to operate at their peak performance? And if the answer to that is no, there's only one person that can fix it. And that's you also. Now your peers and Candace and myself can give you pointers and stuff, but we can't build it for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lakira, what I'm going to suggest that you do is by the end of today, you look at your calendar over the course of the next 2.5 weeks or so, and you see all the things on your calendar that are going to take you away from this goal, right? So maybe you're going out of town for a couple of days, or maybe you've got somebody coming into town or whatever, right? You got to take notice of how many days do I actually have to accomplish this task and get strategic on being super intentional about it, right? This is your one thing. This is your one thing. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the second you know how to do this, you're going to bring a whole new attitude to the business. Not that your attitude is anything but great now. It's just that you have some nerves around it, right? You don't feel confident around it. Well,
Right.
August 1st is the last day for that crap. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Lawanda, you've been awful quiet today. Share your thoughts, please.
Morning.
Good morning.
Wanda.
Good morning, everybody. I do like the fact of being strategic with our time, what we pay attention to, and what we're looking at, what we're allowing to disrupt our time. For me, I have my time block, what I've started doing, so it wouldn't be in my mind so consuming, or what I think is consuming, is that I've blocked my 3 hours a day lead gen. I've blocked it off to 1 hour increments. So that way it's an easier task for me to accomplish. So if I have whatever's in between those 1 hour time periods, I can get that done. I can get back to an hour focus. If I'm writing letters, I'm doing writing thank you notes, golden letters, and working on my sphere. So that's been helpful for me, because I think initially I'm looking at, oh my God, I got to spend 3 hours and my mind's going to wander, that kind of thing. So for me, breaking up into those increments has truly been beneficial for me.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. One thing I forgot to mention specifically to Greta when we were on the call earlier, but I think this could also benefit everyone too, is remember that I think we need to have every day we should have some kind of reflection time, if you will, or you could think of it as like clear the chaos time. So like throughout the day, we're jotting notes on scrap sheets of paper. We're, hey, this guy's new email is this, or hey, I got to remind myself to call this person on this day, or hey, I got to introduce my painter to this prospect or whatever, right? So throughout the day, we've kind of created all this chaos, right? You made a bunch of promises. You absolutely, absolutely must clear the deck, right? So you might have to take 20, 30 minutes at the end of your day to not respond to all the new chaos. That might be chaos for tomorrow, but to settle all the chaos that you've created for the day. Does that make sense? So you put in your reminders of who you need to call the next day. You look at your calendar and say, oh my gosh, I didn't get a chance to do this, so this is now my most important thing for tomorrow. Gosh, that's going to cause me not to have time to go to lunch with my friend. Okay, right? Or the opposite could happen, right? Where you have an awesome, intentional, productive day, and you call your friend and say, hey, instead of playing 9 holes tomorrow, let's play 18. I already hit my goals for the week. You want to meet at 10 o'clock? This is a life by design, you guys. You can do whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want to. Make sense? So every day in your calendars, there should be time to clear the chaos. Does anyone currently do that now?
No, I do not.
No.
Okay. I think you'd be a little bit more like settled, so to speak? Do you think you'd have a little bit less stress when you're like able to like, you know, like, here, this is my day yesterday, right? These are some of my reminders of things I need to do, people I need to call, blah, 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 right? When I can look down this list at the end of the day and say, okay, sent that email, called that person, left a message, sent that text, boom, work day is done. I'm going home. I'm gonna be a dad. I ain't got to worry about any of this stuff because I already did it all. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have anything like this, or you're not making any notes around it, then you end up leaving because you're being, you know, called off to do something different, yet there's no piece that you actually finished it. And so you end up being mediocre at whatever you're headed to. And you're constantly worried that you're behind. You'll see how that works.
And that's me, to be honest with you, Bill. That's me a lot of the time, because I feel like, oh my God, I have not hit this number. And again, like you said, I find myself panicking because I feel like, oh my God, I'm behind.
Well, exactly. But what you need to be doing is, and thank you for sharing, by the way, all of you guys, many of you have been quite vulnerable today, and I appreciate that. What we have to do is say, are our goals not realistic? Where are we wasting time? You know, could I gain some efficiency somewhere by using a person or a piece of technology? Like, why am I not hitting my goals? Is it because I think it takes 3 hours to hit my goals, but in reality it takes 5 hours? Right? Like, we have to, that's why we track our numbers, because we want to identify the relationship between conversations and appointments held, right? And if we know that I just simply need to talk to 60 people to hold an appointment, and talking to 60 people takes me 3 hours, then there it is, right? But if you don't know the connection between conversations and appointments, or you don't know how long it takes, it's a crapshoot every day. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I've said this example 100 times, but it's kind of like if you owned a bakery and you didn't know how much salt you needed every month or every week, or how much sugar, or how many blueberries, or how much flour, or, you didn't know how much tea you had to order or coffee you had to order. Like, these are our numbers. This is how we know whether we're performing at peak performance or not, right? If I'm calling people, at a different firm or whatever, and I'm trying to get them to meet with me for a business review or a consultation or something like that, right? And I were to say, so tell me a little bit about your business, what are your numbers so far this year? And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, no wonder you're not hitting your goals, right? Well, how many appointments do you need in order to hit your goals? I don't know. How many have you had? I don't know. What's your conversion rate? I don't know. My God, if I was hiring a realtor, I'd probably ask them what their conversion rate is. And if they didn't know, I'd be like, you don't even know your own numbers? How are you supposed to know my numbers? I don't really care what the conversion rate is. I'll know right away whether they're any good. I just want to know, You see what I'm saying? Don't you guys spot an amateur right away?
Yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing every single day? What's your plan to present yourself as a confident, well-trained, well-educated, inspired agent? Does that make sense? As we know, guys, the people, like we're going to hear today on the team meeting, a bunch of people that made a lot of money. Let me tell you something. They're smart, but they ain't the smartest people out there. Okay. They just are more focused and more intentional than those that are not receiving the awards. Does that make sense? It's got nothing to do with where you went to school or what your grades were or what you studied. It's simply following the plan. Plan says I got to make 10 calls today. You make 10 calls, you'll hit your goals. Plan says you need to make 10 calls today. You say, it's raining outside. I'm not going to make 10 calls. Hey, don't be surprised in 90 days if you don't have a client. Was that a little harsh?
No, that's realistic.
Exactly. It's truth.
Yeah. Okay, so my challenge to you guys is what's the plan, right? How do you measure whether you nailed the day or not, right? How do you judge whether you got a check mark for the day? Okay, so let's treat it. Let's just come up with a quick example. Okay, let me give you the framework for what a great day might look like. A great day is you protect your lead gen time. Okay. Another thing that you could do to measure your activity is you have X number of contacts, right? Or you set an appointment, or you add 2 people to the database, or you add 1 person to the pipeline, or you check off a project that's been on your desk for a long time, or you like 5 people's Facebook messages, right? So instead of going on Facebook to quote, see what's going on, you go on Facebook because that could take forever. Well, I'm still seeing what's going on, right? If you instead go onto Facebook to say, I'm going to find 5 things, 5 comments, 5 pictures, 5 activities or whatever that I think is pretty cool, and I want to get on the radar of the person posting it, then as soon as I'm done with my 5, I've done my job on Facebook, so I'm closing Facebook, right? Oh, so awesome. You know, are you enjoying your time in Hilton Head? What's your favorite restaurant? I love this one, right? Oh my gosh, your daughter just graduated kindergarten. Congratulations. I can't believe she's so old now, right? Once you've made 5 of those, off. You've done your job. Now it's time to get intentional around your next activity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so one concept we learned in BOLD is getting 1% better every day. Okay, 1% better every day. So I'm going to ask you guys, you don't have to answer out loud, but my big ask is go get 1% better today, right? Is there something that you are lacking some confidence around? Is there a system that needs to be built? Is there a script that needs to be internalized? Is there a calendar that you don't own yet, right? How can we get 1% better today? Fair enough?
Yep.
All right, you guys, I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you at team meeting.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you so much, Bill. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.